this value. We've got Russell here because he is our guru when it comes to how Facebook works, and he's going to go through the process of making sure that you're utilizing Facebook correctly. Most gyms, if I'm honest with you, do not use the Facebook algorithm in a way that's effective, and they don't use the targeting ability of Facebook that's effective. Everyone hears about Facebook and how, wow, the targeting is amazing, and wow, I can't believe that I was just talking about something and it knew about it, and suddenly I'm looking at my phone and I'm getting all these ads about it and it's following me around the internet, and blah, 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 blah. That's all possible, right? Most gyms are not actually plugging in for that. They're just posting things and boosting. And there's not a lot of targeting going on. There's not a lot of use of the algorithm, which quite frankly, it might be the most intelligent algorithm in existence. It might be challenged by the Google algorithm, but both of those are just amazing, especially when it comes to small business marketing. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how you can use it. Now, from a COVID-19 perspective, what I'm suggesting is that we use it in conjunction with virtual classes. As your revenues fall, be thinking about how can you serve your local community as a whole. And there are some gyms that are charging for classes. We've put out, I think, Russell, you've actually uploaded into the Gymnastics Marketing Academy, which is the course that we're offering, which is, you can have free access to it, or you can donate, whatever you can do. But in that course shows you how to add a donation button. So you could actually get in front of thousands of mums in your local community, build up some goodwill, and potentially get a little bit of revenue as well from a donation standpoint. That's one of our things. The other thing is Jackrabbit is now allowing you, if you use Jackrabbit, I think iClass Pro is working on something. I think Russell, you can back me up on that if so, but Jackrabbit is allowing you to be able to link in your virtual classes into their system, so you can charge and organize and schedule classes that are virtual. So, if you're not going down this route, you need to, because we don't know how long this is going to be, right? My hope is that the Dr. Fauci's and the Dr. Birx and so forth have got their finger on the pulse, and maybe this is going to be 30 days. And, we're looking to get through the April, and things start reopening in May, but we don't know, because they don't really know, right? So my advice is to be using virtual classes if you're struggling with it. And I know, Barbara, you're working with us now to help you with your virtual class. We need to get that up and running. We need to help you with it. If you're struggling with it, you need to reach out. You need to get information. You can do it for free using our course, or you can, log out and sign. Okay, she wants to come back with her name. So, you can try and do it yourself, or you can, pay a company like us to help you with it. We have a very low cost option where we actually do all of the technical side of it for you, and you just need to make the classes. But outside of that, you can do it yourself. It is possible. It's not crazy technical, so you can do it yourself. So it doesn't cost you a thing. But I really highly recommend that you actually look into doing it, because I think it's an insurance plan on how long this might take to turn around. So with that, we're going to talk with Russell. And Russell, if we can go through some of the nuts and bolts of how Facebook works and some of the important things. And, one thing I'm going to throw out there for us, and Russell will probably talk about it anyway, is if you don't have a Facebook pixel on your site, you need to get it on there, right? But with that, I'm going to hand it over to Russ. Russ?
Thanks, Andy, and good morning or good afternoon to everybody, wherever you are. I'm currently in New Zealand, so it's a nice balmy 6 o'clock in the morning here, which is almost lunchtime for me these days. So as Andy said, I pretty much run the operations team side of the business, and Facebook advertising and all of the courses and all the strategies that we do, yeah, I pretty much sort of run over those and are constantly with the team looking at how to best affect these. And what we're going to go through today is a bit of a strategy around how you can utilize Facebook advertising. We're going to do it slightly different today than I have done in previous ones, where it's going to be a little bit more focused on how you get your gym out in front of parents in your community to let them know what you're doing right now. And so that's going to be kind of like the format, and we'll just do a quick step through. So have a pen and a piece of paper handy, whether it's writing down notes or whether it's writing down questions. And I just want to make sure that you understand that you've got full permission to just write down a bunch of questions and then reach out to me later on, probably through the gymnastics marketing group.
And we've got a pretty small group here. So if you have questions, just put your hand up and chat.
Yeah.
Talk about it. So it's not, we don't have 30 or 40 people. So if you have questions, just ask, and we can, and if you have something in relation to your gym, ask, and we can chat about it as a team.
Yeah, definitely. No, you are good. So with that, I'm going to actually share my screen so that I can kind of step through a few things with you, and then we can get started. Let's get that out of the way. All right, so first things first, and Andy preempted me there, is a Facebook pixel. So not sure whether any of you, like who in this chat, have got a Facebook Business Manager account or a Facebook pixel, or even knows what the heck I'm talking about. But a Facebook pixel is a little piece of code that gets put onto your website. And what that allows Facebook to do for you is to give Facebook information about the type of people that are visiting your website. And why this is super important is twofold. One is, if Facebook understands the types of people that visit your website and also understands what your website is about, because it's able to read information on your website and get information like, you do gymnastics, and and the text on your website says you target families and mums, etc. And then the types of people that visit your website are families and mums, etc. Then it gives them a much better idea of who, when you're creating an advert, who to actually target. So if you give them a group, an audience that you say, hey, this is an audience of people that I believe might be interested in my advert, or even if you don't give them an audience, that tells them, who you think might be interested in your adverts. Facebook starts to get a really strong idea of who they need to take your ads and put them in front of, based on the information that they get from looking at what's happening on your site via this thing called the Facebook pixel. So the first thing, if you haven't got a Facebook pixel, or you don't have a Business Manager account, or you're not running ads or anything like that, the first thing you want to do is you want to go to this address here, which is business.facebook.com. And a lot of people that we work with actually have a Business Manager account, didn't actually realize that they had one. Maybe somebody set them up. And the easiest way to find out whether or not you do or whether or not you don't is to simply go to this URL, business.facebook.com, assuming you're already logged into your personal Facebook account. If you get a screen like this, you do not have a Business Manager account. If you don't have a screen like this, and you have a screen that looks more like this, or something similar, basically it logs you in and gives you some sort of screen, then you do have a Business Manager account. And the ongoing sort of setup aspect of that is for another session. But what we're going to be looking at today is under the assumption that you do have a Facebook Business Manager account, and subsequently a Facebook ad account, and then are ready to create an ad campaign that's going to put you in front of mums and families in your community to let them know what you're doing right now, and what type of campaign would be the best to do that. So before I move on with that, are there any questions on just that initial Business Manager Facebook pixel side of things? I know that's I didn't really go into it very deeply, but if there's any questions, do yell out.
Yeah, and guys, just to understand, Russell's very dry. He's going to talk about things that sound kind of confusing. It is really important to talk about, to ask him. The thing is, there's gold in what he's saying, because this really is the most powerful thing that we could probably share with you. It's basically how the algorithm works, right? So please, if you're listening and you start, like, all this information starts like turning your head to mush, please question, please get clarification, because it really is magic sauce. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Just literally just butt in. You know, we're not kids at school where we have to be polite. Just butt in and say, Russ, what do you mean? What does that even mean? My head's spinning. And you know, we can slow it right down for sure. So I'm going to start with kind of like the end product, and I want to show you kind of like where we're going to get to over the next sort of 45 minutes. And where we're going to get to is doing something like this. So this is somebody that we know very well. They have decided that they're going to do virtual online classes. And people are doing many different things, right? Virtual online classes, they're doing live, they're doing Zooms. There's, you know, everybody's kind of coming up with their own ways in which they can engage with either their existing families and reaching out to the community. And so this particular gym is actually reaching out to the community, and they're running some advertising to go out past just their existing families that are supporting them, but to actually go out to the community and say, hey, look, we're running some online classes. If your kids are at home and they're bored, here's an option for them. Now, this is actually really great for your gym going forward, maybe when your doors reopen, because giving you the ability to expose your gymnastics club to people who may have not actually considered gymnastics before, maybe at the end of it, they will. So this is the end result of what we're going to build up. And what I'm going to go through is how to create a campaign, how to create and what it is, how to create an ad set, what it is, and how to actually build this ad so that it gives you the best chance for the most effective cost to get your gym out in front of people in your community. So when you're, so assuming you've got Business Manager, and whether or not you know how to get to, the Ads Manager part of it and all of that sort of thing, once you've logged into your Business Manager, everything to do with it is in this menu here under, and whether it'll either say Ads Manager, or if you're in this section, it'll say Audience. So whichever part you're in, it will have a label up here, and it'll have a menu like this. It'll give you one column, and then if you go down to the bottom and hover over this All Tools, you'll get a whole raft of things. And we're only after one thing, and that one thing is under this Create and Manage, and it's called the Ads Manager. And once you're in the Ads Manager, you'll have, the name of your gym will be up here. Anybody that has more than one ad account, will have more than one option in here. But this will be your gym. And the Ads Manager is broken down into three sections. There's campaigns, which a campaign is, think of it, it's as it is. It's an advertising campaign. And one thing Facebook does super well is they try to make all of their terminology something that's relatable in the real world. So it's not all, Facebook online digital advertising terminology. A campaign is, you do an advertising campaign in the newspaper. You do an advertising campaign by creating flyers, right? So it's just an advertising campaign. The ad set is is a group within that campaign that allows you to say, okay, within this campaign, who do I want to show these ads to in this campaign? It can contain how much you want to spend or how you're going to control that spend, and it can also control when you want these ads to display, whether it's ongoing or just for a specific amount of time. And then, of course, you've got the, the actual ads themselves, which is the meat and potatoes of every campaign. So it's broken down into 3 sections. A campaign tells you tells Facebook what you're wanting to do. An ad set tells Facebook who you're wanting to do it to and when you're wanting to do it. And then the ad is the actual advert of what you're presenting to people within the community. So in light of what we're looking at now, and with the concept being simply that, hey, let's tell people in our community what we're doing right now to help them and their kids who, they're probably stuck at home, bored, climbing the walls. And so let's tell them what initiatives we're running within our gym. And from there, the business decision that you have is this something that you make freely available? Is this something you make available for a donation? Or is this something that you make available for a monthly subscription? And we've seen gyms doing all 3 of those kind of options. So the first step in creating a Facebook ad campaign is clicking on this green create button. And what you're going to be presented with when you start creating a campaign is a window like this, which basically breaks down into 3 sections. What is your marketing objective? And what you have to think of is not so much what is the Facebook objective, but what is your objective? What are you wanting to do? And as I said, most of the terminology will be relatable, and you should be able, if you read the terminology, you should see, okay, well, hey, I want to reach more people, or I want to do brand awareness, or I want to do more traffic. So traffic being, traffic to your website. App installs might not apply to you, and it probably doesn't, because you're probably not wanting people to download an app. So if it doesn't apply, then literally just ignore it. If I might have a video, so I want to get video views. You see what I'm saying here? Everything is relative, and if it doesn't make sense, then it's probably not relative to you. One of the biggest things that I can give you in terms of a tip with Facebook when you're going through for the first time, or even the 100th time, is on just about everything that you've got, you'll see these little information icons. And these little information icons are absolute gold. And I can guarantee that it's not just the first time and then you'll get it. It could be the 100th time, just going, oh, what is an engagement campaign again? What is use an existing campaign? Everywhere you go on here, there are little information icons, and they will just give you a little bit of context around what this is, just to kind of help fill in the blanks. And they also always have a learn more option, which will pull up a help guide, which will then allow you to go down as many rabbit holes as you want, depending on how much knowledge you want to extract out of this. So it's really, Facebook's guidance and help system is really, really strong in this aspect. So we're looking at 3 columns here, right? Awareness, consideration, and what we call conversion. So awareness is around just doing brand awareness. Consideration is basically putting ads out that that people would look at and go, oh yeah, I could be interested in that. And then conversion is where you've actually got something, like you're selling a product, or you're selling you're getting somebody to actually make a physical inquiry through an external system. And what we're going to talk about today is awareness, because that, for most gyms that I've talked to and seen in the group, and all our clients as well, that's the big key thing that we're wanting to do at the moment, is just create some awareness in the community around what it is that we're doing. So there is, as I said, this brand awareness ad, which is one option. But what we're going to do is we're going to use an awareness campaign called Reach. And what Reach does is it's going to show our ad to the maximum number of people within the audience that we define. And that's something we want to do. I'll just step back for a sec, because Andy mentioned the power of what we call the Facebook algorithm. And the Facebook algorithm, or an algorithm in general terms, is basically the ability for something like Facebook to utilize its knowledge of websites through pixels, of people that visit your Facebook page and engage with you, to better help you achieve the goal that you want to achieve. And with, say, for example, a reach campaign, the algorithm doesn't really play into it a heck of a lot, because your goal is just to simply reach as many people as you want. Whereas if you were doing, say, a lead generation campaign and looking to actually get physical inquiries around a specific product that go into your CRM and so on and so forth, then the Facebook algorithm would come into play, and it would be looking at your audience and finding those who are most likely to become a lead and inquiry. So with the reach campaign, that's the thing that we're going to use, because we want to just reach everybody. Once we click on that, we will be given some options down here. The first thing is to give it a name. I always like to give it a descriptive name. So I'm going to call this community reach, what we're. It's a good idea to always give your campaigns descriptive names so that you know exactly what's going. If you've got multiple campaigns, you can see this one's about this one's about that. And then the other thing that you can do is you can just put the date in if you want as well. Not such a big thing, but if you run a lot of ads, then that can be helpful. We're not going to create an A/B test. And some of you will have, and this is a good caveat, some will have an interface that looks slightly different to this. Some will have an interface that looks like this. Facebook has different versions of the ads manager out. I'm on the original one. Likewise, you'll either see an option for campaign budget optimization, or you won't. You'll just see, if you don't see it, you'll just see a budget option. So if you see campaign budget optimization, turn it on. If you don't, then you can literally just fill out the campaign budget. The campaign budget is how much are you wanting to spend per day to put your ad out in front of people in your community. And so some guidelines here, and we know that financials are can be super tough right now. So the guideline here is, you could do as little as $5 a day. I probably wouldn't recommend, needing to do more than $25 a day. A reach campaign is one of the most cost-effective ways of reaching people. And so, even at $5 a day, you're still going to reach a bunch of people every day. And when you think about your daily budget, obviously, the more you spend, the more people you're going to reach every day, because it is a paid for advertising. But we've got clients spending $5, $8 a day just putting something out and getting some results. So in terms of budget, and let's just put something right in the middle, and we'll go $15. You don't need to make any changes. We don't need to look at the advanced options. We just decide how much we want to spend, and you can change this at any time. So if you decide that you want to spend $5, and then later on you decide you want to increase it, or vice versa, 25 and you want to bring it back down, you can change this at any time on the fly. It's really easy to do. So we talked about the campaign, which is just setting up the objective, right? What is it that we want to do with this campaign? Now that we've got that, we can have a look at what we call the ad set, which is, okay, now we know what we want to do. We want to reach people in our community because we have a message for them. Now we control, like, who is it within our community? How do we find those parents in there? And when do we want to run it? Do we want to target just females? Do we want to target particular age groups? And probably the most important thing, where do we want to target? So I'm going to start at the top and scroll down. So let's start right at the top here. So again, like the campaign, we want to put a descriptive name in there. So let's call this virtual classroom promotion to community, for example. In a reach campaign, you will need to select you'll select your Facebook page here. It'll more than likely already have it selected, but if it doesn't, you can click on the drop down and make sure it's been selected. But I can't think of really any reasons why that would happen. And literally, we're just going to go down through each section and each step. If you look at this from hey, scroll through and there's all these sort of things in there, it can get quite overwhelming. So all I suggest is just literally just go down through each section. So first thing that we want to do with the audience is we want to define who you want to see your ads. Again, as I said, their learning and guiding system is great, right? You can click on learn more there. But what we're going to do is we're going to create an audience of who we want to see the ads. This part, I'm going to put a little bit more time into this part than I normally would, because I think it's really, really important for you to understand a couple of audiences that you can really tap into right now for this current situation. Our most common audience that we use in everyday times is what we call an interest audience. So what we do is we look at finding things that mums might be interested in, and families might be interested in, and various demographics, so that we can then say to Facebook, hey, find all of the people that are interested in these things here, or parents of kids whose ages are such and such, and we really give Facebook some quite good parameters around who those people might be. And so what that is it's done under this thing called detailed targeting. And so detailed targeting is a way to define your audience by including or excluding demographics, ages, genders, parents, behaviors, etc. Interests, like they might be interested in certain websites or certain product lines, and also behaviors. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click over here and grab this an audience I've previously created. And what I'm going to do for you as well after this is I'm actually going to give you the audience that this audience that we use, so you can literally just type and plug it in, because there's quite a few things in here. Where is it? So one of the things that we look at is interests. So if we come in here, let's go. So we do things like look for, say, mums, people who are interested in preschool, may be likely to have kids. People who are interested in, say, summer camp, obviously not a music festival per se, but might have kids. People who are interested in certain products, like, say, American Girl, might have kids. People are interested in kindergarten. And when I say interested in, what this means, what it tells Facebook, is that through Facebook pages, external websites that have pixels that we mentioned before, and potentially third-party partners through things like the audience network, what are these people, how are these people interested in that? So if I say, American Girl, it's not just their Facebook page. It might be that they mention it, that they've shared it, that they've been to the website, that they've maybe bought products. So it's anything around that. So there's a bunch of different, like what we call interests that you can start looking into. And as you start getting a little bit more creative and thinking about them, and as I said, I'm going to give you the audience that we use, so you can literally just copy and paste it in. But as you start thinking about it, you might start coming up with your own things, especially within your own community, that might come up. Now, one caveat with this is you might have, say, like an ice skating rink that everybody loves in your community. It probably won't come up because there are some requirements for Facebook to actually list it as an interest. It has to be something that is, has quite a lot of following, has quite a lot of engagement. It's not necessarily a big Fortune 500 company or anything, but it's just something that has a lot of following. So summer camp is something that's quite popular. Cartoon Network is a big, it's a big TV station or channel that has a big following. And one of the things that you look at when you're starting to get creative with, what are the things that a mum or a dad or family might be interested in, and you start typing them in, is pay attention over the right-hand side here to, these are the classifications of what these interests are. So in this case, we've typed in Cartoon Network. Now we've got Cartoon Network employers. So this is, this is obviously not related to mums, because this is, about Cartoon Network employers. We've got Cartoon Network schools. Well, that could be something. And then we've got Cartoon Network interests. And then we've got a few more interests, but they've got Australia and New Zealand, Latin America, Mexico, Spain, Arabic, etc. And as you scroll down, there's a few different options around, just this one Cartoon Network. So be aware of that, because if when you're going through, you want to make sure that you're clicking not just Cartoon Network because it's applicable to mums and families, but make sure that it's the right classification. So we could click schools, and I could go in there again and go Cartoon Network because I saw an interests one as well, and I can click that one. But I wouldn't be interested in clicking any of the other ones. Another thing and this is super powerful within targeted advertising within Facebook's detailed targeting or behavioral targeting, is if you type in parents, what you get, and you'll see over here, the classification is demographics, right? And so you've got parents all, so this is all parents, basically people who are likely to be parents. You can try that. I do like having what we call a wider audience, not getting too defined, because Facebook's pretty good at figuring out who's most likely to be interested in your business. Parents all covers everything from, you can see parents with adult children up to 26. So typically we don't use parents all. What we would do is we would actually come down here and use these. You've got parents with teenagers, parents with preteens, parents with early school age children, right down to new parents with 0 to 12 months. So thinking about the age range of the people that you're targeting would then kind of tell you which parents you'd be interested in looking at. Now, so let's start off with parents with preschoolers. Now, rather than having to type that in again, you'll see up here we've got demographics, parents, all parents. So I can just click on that. And this is just a little time-saving tip. And now I can go through on the right-hand side and just put a checkbox by each demographic that I want. So parents of kids between the ages of 6 and 8, so 9 and 12, and maybe 13 and 17, and maybe even 1 and 2 if you've got kinder tots or something along that line. Probably not the 18 to 16-year-olds, but again, depending on your gym, just select those that are that are relevant. Now, you can see this has given us up on the right-hand side here a potential reach of 36 million people, which is a lot of people. And the reason why that's so large is that we haven't actually defined where our gym is or at what area that we want to target. So this part here is about understanding where your gym is, and then where where people in your community that are likely to engage with your gym would be located. Now, typically when you're promoting classes, right, a mum's got to drive her child to your gym, so you'd be looking at specific radiuses or specific zip codes or specific areas that would make that facilitate it, because it's probably no point in targeting a mum who's 50 miles away, or even in a city like 15 miles away, because it just might be too far and they're not going to be interested. So you're going to waste your money. With this situation and looking at providing maybe providing a virtual option, then maybe you could actually widen out your previous reach, and maybe if your previous reach was like, hey, say 10 miles from my gym, maybe you could go out to 20 miles, knowing that after everything settles down, that they might not be able to come in, drive in and bring their kids into your gym and become students. But if you're doing something for the community right now where there's a potential to earn revenue, then actually maybe widening the net out might just put this offering out in front of more people. So before I get into just putting in our address and targeting, in terms of this interest targeting, does anybody have any questions or just want any clarification around anything that I was talking about in this part here?
So I was wondering, is there a benefit or not of how many you put in there? Like,
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good question. So uh, typically, if you were starting on your own and you didn't have a whole lot of data, then I would say, you'd start off with maximum of maybe a dozen, and then kind of test and build upon that. Where you're where you're really lucky is that we spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on advertising for gymnastics clubs every year. In fact, probably close to we've spent over $1 million advertising to gymnastics clubs, to parents. And with all of that data, we've done extensive testing on audiences. So I can short circuit that. And just to give you an example, I will give you this audience here. And so this is more than 12, and which is fine because it's a build up of everything that we've done. And what we did to create this audience, and as I said, we spent a lot of time testing it. What we did is we actually created individual segments of audiences and we tested them on different classes. So we created an audience for mums with kids between the ages of, say, 12 months old and 3 years old. And we used things like Fisher Price, Target Baby, parents with toddlers 1 to 2 years old, Johnson's Baby, things like that. Then we did another audience where we did, and what we did to find these interests is we did some research around, what, as far as Facebook is concerned, what are parents with kids around this age group interested in on Facebook, because Facebook gives us the ability to actually really understand that. And so we built up these different groups of parents and the things that they would likely be interested in according to Facebook and Facebook's data. And we said, okay, parents with 1 to 3 year olds, parents with 4 to, I think, 7 year olds, parents with like 8 to 12, and then a teenage one. And why we've got this, this behemoth interest list here is because what we do is, if we're putting an ad out to mums with kids from toddler to teen, we put all of these interests together. If we're putting something out to mums with just toddlers or just teens or just tweens or whichever group, then we would typically go through this list and cut it down to, say, if we were doing teens, for example, we probably wouldn't be using Crayola, Baby Gaga, and Disney Channel, and we wouldn't use these demographics down in here. So that's the long answer. Short answer is yes. Start off with a few, because if you start off with a few, it allows you to get a better sense of how that performs, and then you test a few more, and then you start adding to it. But I'm going to give you, a couple of years of research and just give you the audience that you can use in its entirety. Any other questions before I move on to the location side of this ad set? All right, cool. So the first thing you want to do is you want to, in this location thing, like by default it'll be United States, right? Because that's where you are. I'm pretty sure that everybody on this call has a gym in the United States. But the country location will be default to where you are. And then the thing that you want to do to start off with is type in your address and basically tell Facebook where your gym is. So let's say we're at 3 somewhere lane, and we're going to use Davisborough in Georgia. And what it's going to do is, by default, it's going to give us this little map with a pin here and then a circle radius, which by default it will use 10 miles. Now, what that's literally going to say is that your gym is here, and within 10 miles of your gym in a radius, we're going to target everybody that's interested in these in this detailed targeting that we set up below, and we're going to show your ads to those people. So that is a really simple way of being able to say, my gym's here, target everybody within a radius of X amount of miles, and you can decrease it. If we scroll out, you can see it's quite small, and we can increase it, and we can increase it up to a maximum of 50 miles. So let's just put that down at say 25 miles. So you can decide, from your gym, where you're going to target. Now, with virtual classes, if you're doing virtual classes or doing something where, maybe you're doing lives and things like that, then maybe just using a radius can work. And even with general day-to-day advertising for gymnastics, to get parents to bring, their kids in to do some of your classes in the gym, radius can work really, really well. There is, however, a different, like an additional thing that you can do to get a little bit more specific with your targeting, and we call this zip code targeting. So if you know that within your area there are, say, certain zip codes that are more likely to have parents that will, enroll their kids in your gym, then what you can do is you can actually type those zip codes in specifically. I'm going to remove this address here and just type in a zip code, 85374, which I think 85374, which I know is an Arizona address. So if we type in an Arizona zip code here, you can see that what it does is, rather than a radius, it's literally defining that zip code. And you can then, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but 85375, there we go, Sun City West. And as you start adding additional zip codes, you can see that it builds it up, and it 85378, and it starts giving you some very specifics around what areas you want to target. I was hoping that I could get something that's a little bit more distant. 374, let's try 0. Well, okay, that doesn't work. But you can see what I mean, right? You can start targeting individual zip codes and really build up specifically, hey, I want to target this area over here, and I want to target this area over here, just by typing in the zip codes. And one thing that we work with a lot of gyms in doing is actually going into your iClass, your Jackrabbit, extracting out your, all of your members list, and then looking at those zip codes and seeing, where do we get most of our kids from. You can also do that with with putting an address in as well. So let me put in Bob Stump Memorial Highway. There we go. So you can also combine this, and this just allows you to get really, really defined as to what areas you want to physically target with, your interest targeting. And so you could, for example, say, hey, I want to target in this area over here. This is my gym, but I know that I've got a whole bunch of people in these zip codes that, while they're outside of my radius, they drive to. So you can get quite specific, or actually you can get very, very specific with what areas you want to target. Where are the people located that I want to show my ad to? Any questions on that on that location targeting? It's that part of it is, I think is pretty straightforward. You do have the option here to choose age, gender, and also language. Now, quite honest, you can refine the ages, you can refine the genders. Facebook will figure it out anyway. And sometimes we actually see that if we, maybe make the ages, I know, let's say 25 to say 54, maybe that's a really good age range. But what that can do is sometimes that can actually push the cost up a little bit. One of the things that we've tested time and time again is that regardless of whether or not we define the ages, Facebook always finds the ages that it wants to find. And a lot of the times we will put a bottom end age in here, just because we don't want to necessarily waste money going to kids. But to be honest, also, if we don't put a bottom age in, we tend to find that the age range that Facebook sends most of the ads to is between 25 and 45 years old. keeping it open at what we call the top end age range as well can actually have some interesting results, because we actually find that quite often we'll get grandparents seeing ads calling their kids and saying, hey, did you know that this is available, and my grandkids might like it, or they might even treat it as a gift. And we've actually run campaigns specifically targeting grandparents. So you can decide whether or not you want to manipulate these ages, or you can just leave it at its default. And again, it's a bit of a test. Definitely test that. If you do think about the parents' age ranges, one tip I'll give you is, if you think and you look at the mums that come into your gym, and let's say you look at the mums that come into your gym and go, well, all our mums seem to be between the ages of 26 and 48 years old, then what I would recommend you do with the ages is go earlier by 5 years and later by 5 years at minimum. So go 20 and 51 years old. The reason I say that is you want to make it, you want to make these audiences a little bit broader, so that you've got a better chance of capturing everyone within it, rather than really tight and potentially missing people on the outside of it. The other tip around this, what we call making audiences quite broad and giving Facebook a bit of room to kind of figure things out and find those right people, is that the more defined your audience is, sometimes the more expensive that can actually be. So Facebook's very good at finding the people. If you tell them where they are and what they're interested in, Facebook can do, and there's some documentation from Facebook on this, they can do what they call a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So you can, again, with the gender, again, you can, break it down to just, and actually say just target women or just target men. But again, if you leave it as all, Facebook will go out and it will put it in front of probably 90% women. And we do see that we get results from a male audience. We typically wouldn't get results from male audience if we just targeted men, because not enough men probably really engage in Facebook ads. But I recommend you can just leave this at the all, and Facebook will sort it out for you. The last one in here is language. So if you have, say, for example, Spanish speaking, and you don't have anybody that can speak Spanish on your team, then you might want to define it to English, or vice versa. If you have a gym, with which is predominantly Spanish, you can focus on that. But for most purposes, unless there's a reason to, I would just potentially just leave that blank. And then as we scroll down through here, we've got placements. Again, I just say just leave this at the recommended option. You've got optimization and spending controls. Leave this at all of its defaults. I would just leave this all at its defaults, including this, what they call the frequency cap, which is how many times people, you want to, people to potentially see this every X amount of days. And one person every 7 days is actually kind of good. And what that gives you the ability to do is actually reach more people. So, every week somebody has a potential to be able to see your ad. And for what we're doing here, that's actually probably quite a good thing. If you change it, then you might find that certain people maybe see it more often, but you don't reach as many people. So just leave all of these things just as a default, as their default settings. And that's my recommendation for this particular type of ad. So once we've gone through that, we're just going to click continue. And we're at the last stretch of creating our Facebook ad campaign now. And this is where we actually, literally build out the ad. I'm going to show you two very quick ways on how to do it. One of the things with this, again, it's a very nice guided process. So start from the top, give it a name. So let's call this virtual class image promotion. Understanding that, if you're using a video, you can use video, you can use images. There's a few different formats. So, again, we're confirming that that's the right Facebook page. We can select our Instagram account if we've got that connected. And then the next thing here is we're going to either create an ad from scratch, or we're going to use an existing post. Now, the existing post is really, really good. And if you've done posts on your Facebook page and you've clicked the boost button, put a little bit of ad spend behind it, this is like boost on steroids, right? So if you can imagine that you click on the boost, you have a few very little, very minimal options as to where you want it to go and how you want to control it. If you boost a post using this method, you've gone through and you've given a campaign objective and you've set all these parameters in your ad set to who you want to target and where they are and so on and so forth. So if you boost this, you're probably going to get better results than just clicking the boost on your page. So if we were to click use existing post, then what we get is we get very little options down here except for this button that says select post. And so what we can do is we can come through, and these will be all of our Facebook posts that we have posted previously, and you'll be able to pick one and just go, okay, I'm going to use this one here. Likewise, if you've got your Instagram account connected, you can go through and select the previous Instagram post as well. So once you've found the post that you want to do, so let's use this post here. You click continue, and it will pre-populate that post. Okay, this post didn't have any text or anything, but it will. In fact, I will change this post. Let's get one with one with some text so you can actually see it. So there we go. So this picks up this post here, and it says it picks up the text, and it had a button and it said inquire about classes and programs. Now we can't change this because it's all part of this post, right? All we're doing is saying find one of our existing posts on our page, and then we're going to use that to advertise. And if that's the case, then all we need to do is we would scroll down here and we would click confirm. Now there's one little thing that we just want, and I will show you how to build the ad itself, but there's one thing that you want to make sure that you check is make sure that this Facebook pixel is switched to on. Now 9.9 times out of 10 it will be, but the odd time, like this time, it's not. So it's one of those things that you want to make sure that it's turned on. And what that does is it allows Facebook to understand how this ad needs to work with the Facebook pixel that you have on your website to give you the best possible results. If you are not going to use an existing post, let's just go back to the default settings. So you come onto this ad, you've given it a name, and you click on create ad. Actually, before I move on to that, in terms of using an existing post and how that works, does anybody have any questions around that as a good alternative to boosting a post? No? Okay, cool. So in terms of creating an ad, right, so we've got our campaign objective, just to summarize, we've got our campaign objective, which says we want to reach as many people in ad set, this area within our community, to interest these people who are interested in these things, and people who maybe fit under these demographics of parents with kids under the between the ages of X, Y, and Z. We're going to spend $5 to $10 to $15 to $20 a day doing it, and we're going to run our ads to basically all through the Facebook platform. Now we're going to create the ad and say, well, what is it that what message do we want to send out to people? What is it that we want to showcase about our gym? So the first thing you've got is you've got media, right? So actually, sorry, let me scroll back up. The first thing you've got is the format. How would you like to structure your ad? So single image or video, or carousel. And you may have seen these carousels, which is the opportunity to run an ad which has one or more carousel cards, each with its own headline and its link description. I'm just showing you that that's an option that's there. And just so you know, in our Facebook Marketing Academy and also on the Facebook Marketing Group, there are lots of videos about all the different types of campaigns and ad creations. And so if you want to find out about how to build a carousel, all that information is there. And if you can't find it, just hit me up in the group and I can point you in the right direction. For this, we're going to just use a single image. And if you want to use a video, it's the same option. So this has picked out a default image for us, and we're going to click on change image, and use, we're going to use this image from the ad I showed you previously, just to give you a bit of an example. So once we've selected the image, you can see it's going to give us a preview on the right-hand side of how the ad's going to look with this image. And you'll notice that it's using a square format, which is pretty much the most commonly used format in Facebook ads right now. Is a nice square image. Once you've selected your image, then you can put in what they call a primary text, which is this text that goes at the top here. And what I'm going to use here is I'm going to build out, literally just going to copy the text that we had from that previous ad. So let's lead with a question, and then let's provide a solution to that question, and then we'll get this one as well. And then let's add a little bit more. So so are your kids getting bored at home? We'll be hosting online classes to help give them something to do while they are at home. While we've temporarily suspended all our in-gym activities during this time, rest assured we're still here for you. Your kids are going to love doing our online classes, so on and so forth. And obviously that text will just resonate with what it is that you're offering and what message that you want to give to parents. And one of the biggest things that you want to do here is really kind of just tap into, like why would kids be interested in doing your virtual class, or why would kids be interested in coming to your gym? What problems, what challenges are parents having at the moment? Are your kids bored? Are your kids inactive? And really kind of talk to that because that's going to resonate. And one of the biggest tips I can think of is if you're a mum, and I can see a little one on your lap, think of what would resonate to you if think of what would resonate with you in terms of, as a parent.
Not child.
Grandchild. Oh, there we go. But, think about what would resonate to you as a parent with a kid, and what would make, you want to take your kid to that gym, or would want to make you engage with that gym with a virtual class. Because it's more than just, you're not selling, just a product or a service. You're selling, an experience for that kid. So once we've put our primary text in, and you can see that on the right-hand side, and let me just go to you'll see over here, we can see just different previews of what it would look like in different areas. And so we can see what this would look like. You can see, ads building up quite nicely. We've used a few emojis. Don't be afraid to use emojis. Keep it nice and fun. And, we've got some text there. So the next thing we want to do is we want to add a website URL. So we're going to check this button here, and let's add a headline. So join our online classes today. You can see that the headline appears down here. Now, then we've got display URL, and we've got description. Now, the description is an interesting thing because Facebook's actually not showing descriptions on a lot of ads, but you want to put a description in. Otherwise, if it does show it, it'll just show a default one. So let's put something in there, gymnastics, dance, and tumbling, all from home. So that if Facebook does show this description, this is something that I've been doing over the last sort of 3 or 4 months, is deciding some ads will show the description, some ads won't. And then what the description is, and if I just hover my mouse over here, it's additional text that appears in some placements, and its position on the ad varies by placement. And what it is really think about, a description to, say, your headline. Your headline is this could be your byline, right? Just a little description to give a little bit of context around the ad. But the biggest tip here is do not put your primary description in here, because some people just aren't going to see it. So I would not put join our online classes down in here, because I know that everybody's going to see the headline. The last thing you want to do is put a website URL to your gymnastics class. So let's say we're using this one here. Paste it. Now, here's a tip. You'll notice that I know what this website URL is. Do not ever manually type in your website address. just don't ever do it, because it's so easy to miss a dot or make a little typo. And if you do, then it won't work and your ad gets rejected, and then you're trying to figure it out. It's just not worth it. One of the things that we tell our team to do, and it is absolutely mandatory, go to your website, highlight your website URL, copy it, go back to your ads manager. Let's just right click and paste it. If you do that, you can guarantee that you will not make a mistake, unless you don't copy the entire thing. But at least it mitigates the possibility of making mistakes. The display link, which is optional, and you'll see here it just pulls out the main website part here. So if it was, you know, mygymandchair.com, then and the website URL is mygymandchair.com/online classes, then the display URL would just be my online and gymandchair.com. So you can change that if you want. So you could put landing.marketing.com / classes. So if you wanted to, you can do that. Now, understand that people don't click on that link. And I've made a mistake there. Something's happened. So people don't click on, you can't click on this link. It's really just to give people a visual as to, you know, hey, if they're going to click a button, you know, or this ad is about, you know, is going to go to this website. The last thing is to select a button. Now, you do not have to have a button, right? You've probably clicked on so many ads that, you know, don't have a button. If people are interested in something, they will tap on it on their phone, or they will click on it on Facebook. So, you know, you can test a few different things. We find that learn more quite often works better than sign up. And that could be because it's not as committal. So, you know, it gives people the option to, you know, learn more and go through and click on something. So if you've got something on your website about your virtual classes, then, you know, you could either have no button or you could go learn more. But you could also test doing, you know, sign up. You could try different options. One option that you can try, and this might be a little bit of a struggle now if your gym's closed, but it's a good option for, you know, if your gym is open, or if you've got a phone that you can answer, is this call now. Because if you use this call now option, you can actually put your phone number in there. And what that will do is, why is this not displaying my number? Let's try putting an area code in there. There we go. What that will do is it will give you a button for call now. So people who see this on their phone, they tap that button and just call you directly. So if that's a way that you're wanting people to engage with you right now around virtual classes or anything, then that's one thing that you can do. But in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to just click, let's use Learn More. We already put the website URL, and again, there's our button there. And that's pretty much it. Click confirm, and your ad will be, you know, go to Facebook, they'll review it. It'll take somewhere between, you know, 1 and 12, maybe even more hours for it to review. Facebook ads are taking a little bit longer to review sometimes at the moment. But that's all you need to do. The only other thing that I'll just allude to is, and here where we go, is there are a lot of customizations you can do per each placement, but one of the quick customizations you can do is just editing the story's background colors. So over here, if we look at these previews, we could go down to, let's go Facebook, we could go Instagram stories. And, you know, just a very simple thing we could do is we could decide, hey, you know, look, I might, you know, our colors are green, so I'm going to use some sort of a green color. And you might actually have your, you know, your proper colors, but you can change the story colors just to make a quick, you know, story post. If you are inquisitive, then you can come up here and, you know, and you can play around with this thing here, and you can select a placement to customize. So you can actually click into here and you've got a whole, it's a whole nother world. Now, you don't have to do this. It's one of those things that just gives you, if you are that type of person that just loves digging into things, then this is a really cool option to go through and, use some different templates, really customize the colors, customize the look and feel of it, and even reduce them, change what text is being shown in, in just this Instagram story or Facebook story. So with that, we'll click confirm. It'll take a few seconds for it to confirm, and it will put it into the Facebook review system. You can see now currently it's in draft, and then the upper right hand side it's publishing 3 of 3, so the campaign, the ad set, and the ad. And there we go. It's all turned on. It says that it's in review, and it will stay like that until Facebook have approved your ad. If we go through, we'll see that all of these things are switched on, and we can just double check. And it's a good thing to double check, right? Go through a $5 budget. Yep, that's what I wanted. Maybe go through and click on edit, and just double check that yes, the addresses are right. I can click in there. I can have a look at that. And everything's looking good. I haven't changed that. I can double check. And this is something that I strongly recommend is just go through and double check, double check that, you haven't missed anything or lost anything, or, double check. Yes, put the website URL in there. Yes, my Facebook pixel is on, and just go through and just double check everything. And always do that when you're running an ad. So that was probably the most exciting thing that you've learnt or had to experience, was me waffling on for 3/4 of an hour about how to create an ad. Does anybody have any questions at this stage?
Anybody have a headache? Everybody okay? So, what Russell's basically going through is, this is how to make sure that your message, and we spoke about messaging last week, your message is seen only by those that are likely to purchase from you, right? And that is really the ultimate power of Facebook, is that it's got this amazing system and algorithm using data that it doesn't share with us, because remember, we don't know who's getting these ads, but it has tremendous data on us as users on Facebook. It knows what we do, what we look at, what we're interested in. It knows if we've got kids. It knows if we've got grandkids. It knows what we do, knows where we move. There's all sorts of data points. I think the number's up to about 275 data points to know who we are, what we do. And it uses those data points. And just to give you an idea of what 275 data points means, psychologists will say that your mom knows 90 of your data points. So Facebook basically knows you 3 times as well as your mom does, right? So when they use those data points, and Facebook probably knows you better than you do, actually. Probably knows, and it actually has such a lot of information that it can actually predict what you're going to do in the future as well. So what we do as small businesses is we can tap into that power and that knowledge of the 2 billion users, the 170 million users in the United States, the majority of which are women, in the mum age group. And we can use that power to actually supercharge our message, right? What I love about it for small businesses is that it allows us to keep the costs down whilst reaching exactly who you need to be reaching. Like I hear some gyms are still spending money on local newspapers or shopping cart signs, or all those kind of things, like gift voucher books, all of that kind of stuff. The thing is, you don't know who's getting that, right? I mean, half the people that have access to those things that you're paying to get in front of don't have kids. They're either elderly and their kids have all left, and maybe they have some grandkids or whatever, but they're not necessarily thinking about putting kids into gymnastics. Or they're 20-year-old guys walking through a grocery store with a bunch of cans of beer in their cart, right? They're not our audience. And what Facebook does, and remember, Facebook is not just Facebook. Facebook is Facebook, Facebook is Instagram, and Facebook is the audience network. Across all those platforms, you're pretty much hitting the majority of the, I think the number is close to 50 million mums in the United States. So there's 50 million households with a mum in it that has kids. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope you understand that we've got this recorded, and we're going to put it into the gymnastics marketing group so you can watch it again and again if you wish to. But this is really kind of like the magic sauce. So forever kind of slightly changing system too. I must admit, and Russell, if you have anything to say on it, that Facebook's constantly upgrading this system. It seems to be getting better and better each year. It's more powerful and better at doing its job. And we've seen it with 60 plus gyms over the years that we've been doing this for gyms, that it turns your situation around. Now, obviously we're talking about when your gyms reopen, but it turns your situation around from trying to run a program and worrying about how many kids are in it, to you're going to constantly get a stream of people coming in and you just worrying about building a great program, right? And that's what we see, the power of it. There's a reason why we focus so heavily on Facebook, not Google or some other areas, and it's because Facebook does, quite frankly, the best job right now. If there was another platform that did better, we would shift to that platform, right? If there was a platform that did a better job of reaching mums and convincing them to do business with you, we would be on that platform. We're on this platform, and we recommend our clients using it, not because I own stock in Facebook, because I don't, but because Facebook works really well when it's utilized correctly. So with that, I know you guys have lots of things going on, but I really would turn this around and say to you guys, get onto your virtual classes, get that up and running and rolling, and then consider using Facebook to make sure that your local community knows about you. So when you reopen, you're open to a run. You're open to people going, oh, I've seen Legends Gymnastics. I've seen some of their training. It looks really, really good. I'm really kind of excited about this. And man, I'm sick of doing this virtual classes. I want to do real classes. And when you open, you get a drive of people. And then in the meantime, my team are working really hard to try and figure out how we can monetize it too. So we can make sure that you've got as much revenue as possible. Because the goal is right now, guys, and some of you have heard me say this, there's two things we're trying to do. Get you from now to opening, right? Help you survive between now and the day that your gym reopens. And then the second part of the process is how do we make sure that you take off as soon as that you open, so you don't have a stagger start, and this issue, even though you're open, keeps stretching out for you months and months on into your business, which it could do, right? We've got to make sure that doesn't happen. We've got to fill the hole fast and get you back on track as quickly as possible. So with that, Rachel, Erin, do you have anything that you wanted to say or share or anything? No?
I'm good. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. So that's it. I'll end the recording. So if you're watching the recording, that's it.